everything up on my end so I can actually talk on a talk show. What a concept. For all yous on YouTube who's I'll use, that was a big statement from Archie Bunker, but from All in the Family. Great, iconic TV show that you probably, oh, could you imagine the hollering if they made an All in the Family show today? That we'll be joining IE News or IE News. We're live on Facebook, and that is we do live at 5 every day. For that, we're going to get 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That intro music every day, Monday through Friday, here at 5 and 5:30, as we go live at 5 on IE Newswire Daily on Facebook Live, as we're tuning in now, and YouTube, those of you who get that first, if you really crack it right at 5 o'clock, you get a couple of minutes there of content that nobody else does. So go to our YouTube channel, IE Newswire on YouTube. Listen to that and click it on at Live 5 or go watch the replay because you can miss that first couple of minute segment that nobody else, it's an exclusive to YouTube on that. And there's some exclusive features that we have on the YouTube channel that you get nowhere else. So click on it, subscribe, do that. Tune in to us as our great audience on IE Newswire Live doing that as I'm trying to fire up the whole stuff. We'll have Jason Hunter, our longtime insider in Riverside, give us an update on that. He wants to talk about the school bonds, everything going on in Riverside. On top of that, because there's always something popping down in the good old River City down there, the power base of the Inland Empire. But maybe that will be coming to an end one of these days because there's a lot of problems, especially financially down in this old River City. It's not your dad's River City as the old, what was it, the old Oldsmobile commercial or it's not your dad's Oldsmobile or Buick or one of those two. They came out with that because they wanted to get rid of the image of the older car or whatever on there. But I digress because if I start down these trails, I can rabbit hole into into all sorts of things. No, the hot topic, and it has been all week. I mean, we've had the whole State of the Union address. I guess this is usually the week after Super Bowl and everything, and this weekend are kind of like, everybody's just kind of mellowing out. You bet the build up of the big game, everybody's watching him. Not this year. No way. I mean, we had the big game on Sunday. What do we wake up to or see? Not wake up to, I guess, but Monday, late afternoon, evening, back in the evening, back where it was in Iowa, we had the Iowa caucus chaos that was going on out there. The Democrats, after hollering about Donald Trump fixing the elections, Russia collusion, blah, 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 ran an impeachment hearing trial that we should, at least I am, so very thankful that whole fiasco is over and we don't have to worry about that whole enchilada again. But after this, they couldn't even count the results. I mean, they had a big election meltdown. All the Democrats are pointing fingers at each other. The whole thing. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better. And then we had the State of the Union address. Now we've had the press conferences, and it just keeps getting better every day, the whole enchilada. We had the whole, Trump did an absolutely, in my view, State of the Union speech. And, I mean, we are doing great. Now, we're all going to argue about the facts or the da-da-da, or pick every little thing apart on the whole deal. But overall, the economy is great. Most everybody is doing well. We're doing that. Now, there's a lot of things that need to be fixed in the whole situation. And, there is, but we are turning it around. And we can continue to turn it around if we all like Rodney King said, can't we all get along? Well, Nancy Pelosi couldn't. I mean, the whole way she conducted herself during the whole State of the Union is culminating with her ripping up the speech, we'll get into, and we have some clips coming on that. Uh, the pouty faces, the mocking, the face mocking, and all that, the not standing or not clapping, and da 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 da, was totally disrespectful. Did she learn from that? Heck no. We'll get into those little video clips of that here in a second. So have video number 2 ready here pretty quick. So Nancy Pelosi, this is coming up. She has her weekly. They do on Thursday. She has her weekly press conference because she's Speaker of the House. And dirty little secret: they usually go Monday to Thursday because Friday they're flying out, coming back home to their constituents or whatever. So there usually isn't. There usually by Thursday, by Friday, most of the House is almost a ghost town. That because they're trying to get out, do all this stuff. So she has her weekly press conference, which is going to be hotter than a firecracker because of all the things that have been going on. Her, her whole little histrionics at that. So on top of that, none other than we put on from the Hill the article by Jonathan Turley, professor at George Washington University, constitutional expert, asking Nancy Pelosi to resign. So play clip number 2 when you got it, and we'll see what. This is almost unbelievable what Nancy says at her press conference on that.
It's appalling, the things that he says, and then you say to me, tearing up his falsehoods, isn't that the wrong message? No, it isn't. It's just I have tried to be gracious with him. I'm always dignified. I thought that was a very dignified act compared to my exuberance, as I said. But we will not allow any president to use that Capitol, that chamber of the House of Representatives, of the People's House, as a backdrop for him.
She thinks that was her conduct through that whole speech was dignified. Those of you watching on video on that. And then culminating with tearing the speech up at the end of that. Really? Not only Jonathan Turley, respected, center left, votes mainly for Democrats, doesn't hide it, is on TV, CBS, some of the major well-respected said, Nancy Pelosi, you should resign for the conduct exactly that. That's not someone Hillary Clinton said part of the vast right-wing conspiracy and the whole, we got to get that clip so we can play it. Find that clip when Hillary's saying the vast right-wing conspiracy. We need to put that in the sound effects deal. Because, really? Nancy, you think that, and let's just synopsize for a little bit. Let's just say what you're saying is true. Let's say Trump is a complete a-hole, no regard for anybody, piece of human debris. Let's just say that. So that precludes you. That gives you the permission to do that also. Where is it that you're rising above the fray or you're showing the proper conduct no matter what somebody else is doing? So in Nancy Pelosi's theory, in my way I'm taking it, is, if somebody else goes and shoots somebody and murders them in cold blood, well, why can't I? I should be able to do it too, because, that's the conduct of whatever. Just whatever Trump is doing or not doing or that does not affect or has no bearing on what you do. So if you had respect for the American people, for the seat that you occupy, for being Speaker of the House and presiding officer over the State of the Union, which is constitutionally mandated deal, well, the president has to address, I don't think it says State of the Union, the president has to come once a year and address Congress about that. So, and you are the one in charge of that meeting. And there's a certain amount of decorum, as Jonathan Turley. There's been a tradition of the way they introduce the president, and she did not do that. And it was very obvious that she wanted to slight the president. Again, it doesn't matter which way, and I have no problem with that. The whole thing that, and she's even making the issue that she put out her hand and Trump didn't shake her hand. Well, he didn't shake Pence's hand either, and it's been well known. I put it out there. He's a germaphobe. He does not like shaking hands. He probably doesn't. And there's good reason. Botox, Nancy, who knows how many diseases are rolling around in your hands or anything else on that. Maybe he's, I'm not a germaphobe. I'm like 180-degree opposite. I don't get freaked out about that stuff, but he does. That could be the reason. Second thing, like I said, is it's, the speaker's stand is about 6 feet lower, and by the time where you're at, you're 7 or 8 feet. So you have to look up. You would have to look up to see somebody extending their hand. And when you're in that situation, you're the president, you're coming up to do the State of the Union speech and stuff. I could easily see somebody just, I'm walking, make the turn, get this done. Because sometimes just you do, even in stuff like that. You're a little bit keyed up, doing that. But as soon as you start, in most cases, especially if you've done this stuff a lot like Trump, once you start, that's just like a calming effect. You kind of get into it, and any little bit of anxiety, butterflies and stuff goes away. So I could see you want to get up there, you want to do it, you want to get it started, get it on, get to what you're doing, so you're you can be comfortable, get on to business, and away you go. So as we're doing this stuff, so that's what I'm saying is this whole enchilada of what's been going on. I mean, that was the first one. I couldn't believe that she would actually, from the reporter's question on that, because the reporter's asking her, well, what's going on here of doing that, and she's doubling down on what she did. She sees nothing wrong in her conduct. She wants to play the blame game. Trump did this, caused this, da-da-da-da-da. Well, again, doesn't matter to me one way or the other what Trump did or didn't do or did this. That does not justify your bad behavior just because somebody else is doing it. And that's where we're at in this society of going on, is we constantly want to do this each and every day. So the next one coming up, so Trump is at the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, D.C., which is at. So have clip number 3 ready to go. So, and Trump, this is why I like Trump. Trump is the most entertaining president. Trump talks like you and I, or most of us talk, each and every day. Whether you want to admit it or not, this is how the conversations, at least I have most of the time, and how we're talking in our daily conversations are going on. So this is Trump on James Comey and the whole investigation, the FBI cluster foxtrot that did that, where they were doing, they were out to get Trump and prevent him from doing our own law enforcement investigation agencies, the United States of America, are trying to do this. So have clip number 3 ready and let that roll when you got it.
They were going to try and overthrow the government of the United States, a duly elected president. And if I didn't fire James Comey, we would have never found this stuff.
Stop right there.
Because when I fired that sleazebag...
Well, yeah, back it up because I want to get he said that key term. When there's an overthrow of a duly elected government, that is called a coup, which means usually it's a military takeover, but somebody with a lot of weapons or something or power is going to take over a duly elected democracy government to turn it into probably a dictatorship. So back that clip up to the start and let's roll through it again.
They were going to try and overthrow the government of the United States, a duly elected president. And if I didn't fire James Comey, we would have never found this stuff. Because when I fired that sleazebag, all hell broke out. They were ratting on each other. They were running for the hills. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. It's in the hands of some very talented people. We're going to have to see what happens. But I can tell you, in my opinion, these are the crookedest, most dishonest, dirtiest people I've ever seen. They said they were going...
There you go. I mean, he called Comey a sleazebag because that's what he is. They were trying to overturn a duly elected election of the people of the United States. And we cannot let that stand, not for any reason. Like he said, once Trump, and that's what they were afraid of. The biggest thing that they're afraid of Donald Trump is that you can't, what are you going to give, how are you going to bribe Donald Trump? What are you going to give him that he couldn't already buy? Or have, or want, or whatever. So he don't care. Yeah, he's out there doing what he thinks is right. What he thinks the American people elected him to do. What he knows is the right path to go by to provide the tools for you to be a success or live the life you want to live. These jackasses are out there trying, because they're having a little hissy fit like Nancy Pelosi's been doing lately, about, oh, the world's coming to an end. Oh, Trump's going to do this. Everything's going to collapse. You see it all the time. Nothing's happened. Everything's going great guns. We're getting rid of the graft and corruption and BS like this is going on. Like he said, they're running like rats when my administration come in here, because we're actually doing we're actually doing things. We're actually getting rid of this corruption. But it's absolutely ridiculous that, like I said, Trump talks just like you and I. Calls Comey a sleazebag because that's what he is. And all of them, Page and Shrunk and all that stuff that was running all these conspiracies or Hillary Clinton's the one that they should have been investigating, and probably Barack Obama and that whole Democratic side. But no. We don't like Trump. We're going after him. We have a caller on the line. Who's there?
Hello, Sonny boy.
Yep.
Hey, I observed the way I look at it, that Nancy Pelosi was controlling all of her people in white over there. If that had been Republicans and they'd done that, they would have been called racist. Now, she didn't tore up 3 black persons, a general, a contractor, and a little girl, all black, and tore their names up on a government sheet. So it ain't that, in my opinion, she's just as racist as she's trying to call Trump.
No, she is. She crapped on everybody that was in that audience that was recognized on that, because that's what she's doing. She could have her little hissy fits of all she wanted to justify what she's trying to do, the damage control of what her actions were, but we know darn well what she was doing of that. They really want, that's what she thinks of you, the American people. She will crap on you to build her own, to make her the king, queen of the plantation, as Mason Weaver says.
That's right.
And that's the bottom line. But they run these false narratives like this and try and blame everything under the sun to try and hide what they're actually doing.
Yeah, she controlled her little audience out there. She made, when she wanted them to stand, she stood up and she put her hands up like, the preacher does. Oh, everybody stand now. We want this to be shown. And then told everybody to sit down. You talk about somebody that's a dictator. There's one.
Exactly. I mean, the hypocrisy of that, to her to call Trump undignified with the actions she did throughout, not just the end, the whole thing. Like I said, the pouty faces all through the deal of that, and just her overall demeanor through that whole hour plus of that. was absolutely shameful. And to have somebody like Jonathan Turley come out and say you should resign just for the conduct you did at the State of the Union is a very powerful statement.
That's true. We even had it happen here in the local government here. We had people talk to them people that way, especially me against Dickie Stew, if they ever want to check that out.
Yeah, and it's part of the it's part of the lexicon of what goes on each and every day on the whole enchilada on that. I want to do this because this is what play video number 7. Have that ready because this is the whole thing I'm talking about. If they were really wanted to get into the graft and corruption or what was going on with the Russia in 2016 campaign, this is what they really should have been looking into on that. So play clip number 6 when you got it ready. Is it 7? You're on 7, yes.
100 million to 1. This is about me. This is an agent from the FBI. Look how they let her off. 33,000 emails deleted. Nothing happens to her. Nothing happens. It's unbelievable. But think of that. God, Hillary should win. When these guys are investigating Hillary. Then they go to work for Mueller, the two of them. And when Mueller found out that everybody knew that they were 100% this way, he let them go. But they deleted all of their emails and text messages. So when we got the phone, they were all deleted. Could you imagine the treasure trove? They illegally deleted. So they left Bob Mueller. He had the look, but he didn't have a lot of other things. Always had the look, Mr. G-Man. And I love the FBI, and the FBI loves me, 99%. It was the top scum, and the FBI people don't like the top scum. So think of that, 100 million to 1, and he's investigating me. And then God.
There you go. And I want to play the next clip because have video number 8 ready. Again, Trump tells it like it is. Look at the scum that was in the FBI. They were trying to do a military-style coup, as Trump said, to take over an election. And this is what, again, I'm going to say Nancy Pelosi, Hillary, Barack Obama, and the whole crew had this because this is a great video that shows some of the hypocrisy and I think points out what actually Nancy Pelosi, with her symbolism of tearing that State of the Union speech up. So play clip number 8.
One of the last surviving Tuskegee Airmen, the first black fighter pilots, and he also happens to be Ian's great-grandfather.
These are powerful American stories. She ripped the shreds by Nancy Pelosi.
Tonight we have a very special surprise. I am thrilled to inform you that your husband is back from deployment. He is here with us tonight, and we couldn't keep him waiting any longer.
Yeah. Yeah, keep carrying that up, Nancy.
They wouldn't even stand for it. They wouldn't
I
even
can
stand up.
proudly announce tonight that an opportunity scholarship has become available. It's going to you, and you will soon be heading to the school of your choice. I will be with you again, he wrote to Gage. I will teach you to ride your first bike, build your first sandbox, watch you play sports, and see you have kids also. I love you, son. Take care of your mother. I am always with you, Daddy. On Easter Sunday of 2008, Chris was out on patrol in Baghdad when his Bradley fighting vehicle was hit by a roadside bomb. That night, he made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. To Kelly and Gage, Chris will live in our hearts forever. He is looking down on you now. Thank you.
That's what you're ripping to shreds, Nancy.
In 2017, doctors at St. Luke's Hospital in Kansas City delivered one of the earliest premature babies ever to survive. Today, Ellie is a strong, healthy 2-year-old girl sitting with her amazing mother, Robin. In the gallery, Ellie and Robin, we are glad to have you with us tonight.
Keep tearing that up, Nancy.
I am proud to announce tonight that you will be receiving our country's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The unemployment rate for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans has reached the lowest levels in history.
Yeah, that's something we should be embarrassed about, Nancy.
African American youth unemployment has reached an all-time low. African American poverty has declined to the lowest rate ever recorded. The unemployment rate for women reached the lowest level in almost 70 years, and last year women filled 72% of all new jobs added. The veterans' unemployment rate dropped to a record low. The unemployment rate for disabled Americans has reached an all-time low.
There you go. I mean, it goes on and on. That's what she does not like, or that's what she ripped to shreds during that whole, her little rendition or her little histrionics through the whole speech of that. You can see where the hate comes from. The hate is a very powerful word, and it's a very powerful emotion. And that's what they use to keep you, as Mason Weaver says, on the plantation. Got a couple minutes before we transition over, Pop. What do you say? Oh, is he gone? I think, well, maybe we lost. I was going to give him a couple minutes there to do that while we come into KMET. But no, that's what's going on in this whole deal. You, Nancy, that's what the whole histrionics, you can try and duck and weave and say it's about policy and this and da-da-da-da-da-da. The vitriolic hate on your side of the aisle is no more evident than what we've seen at the State of the Union. And it's been backed up. You said it after the State of the Union. You reiterated it today at your press conference. Again, whether Trump could be the worst human being, have the worst behavior, that does not justify yours. That is the bottom line. Somebody else's actions cannot dictate, should not dictate your response, your responsibility. You as a leader in this United States of America, representing 330 million people as Speaker of the House, hosting the President and the Senate and the rest of your House members. That was not a partisan fight. That was not a political deal. That was telling how and what and why was going on in America. The presidential's report of what is going on at this time in America. It's again, it's just it's shocking of what some of these leaders really think of you. And yes, this vitriol rolls down, as Pop said. It rolls down to your local levels. It's some of the times it's like, now they're trying to again, if there's one word that needs to be, another word besides free that needs to be counteracted, it's this word racist. They're trying to claim Rush. I see these old things because Trump gave Rush Limbaugh the Medal of Freedom honor, the highest award you can give a civilian. Now they're trying to frame him as a racist. They're doing that because there could be nothing further from the truth. But as most of them do, most of them don't know the definition of the term. Most of them they're taking their little talking points in their screwy little videos and they're distorting the actual facts. And this has got to stop. If you want a greater and stronger America, if you want a better future for not only yourself, but your kids and your grandkids, that is what we are faced with today. That's why, again, it's going to be very important. We're going to be voting in less than 30 days in California in a primary. November 5th or whenever it is, we're going to have the big election.
1 minute, guys, 1 minute.
Up. And it's going to be no more important. It's going to be a watershed year again. I mean, you can eliminate Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. California is ground zero. What are we down to? 8 Republicans out of 53 in the House of Representatives? That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, the one-sided part of that. And because if you want to get to the facts, and
30 seconds
coming in, it's a very good, not necessarily divided government, but perspective on both sides will usually give you the best result. And you will be kind of surprised of some of the things that happen just because
here we go.
things
10
are on
seconds.
one side or the other. We're getting ready to
am.com and download your free phone app today. IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
Love that music coming in on Thursday as we roll in with KMET 1490 AM, the Mighty MITT, broadcasting out of Banning, California. We're bringing in the guy that makes it all work over there. Sean does that, along with in our studios. We have producer extraordinaire Jesse pushing the buttons, making this all flow out, not only across the World Wide Web on IE Newswire Live on Facebook and YouTube. Doing that, but we're now joined KMET 1490, so we're going out all over the Inland Empire on this absolutely great Chamber of Commerce day in the Inland Empire. We've been talking about the whole Trump-Pelosi fiascos going on up and down the line. I just want to finish off some of the what we've had going on, because this is absolutely phenomenal, some of the rhetoric. And Tom Del Beccaro, and hopefully we'll have him on here pretty soon, he wrote the book The Divided Era about 10 years ago. We're just going down this path more and more each and every day. And that's what we're doing. We're just hollering at each other a lot, and we're not accomplishing anything. Look at all the things we could have accomplished if we wouldn't have had the sham of an impeachment trial. That would have been we could have got rid of, we could have probably saved the world. How many bridges could we have built with the money they spent running a sham impeachment trial? How many homeless could you have fed? How many military tanks could you have bought? They claim we don't have enough in the military, or on and on and on, whatever. That's that so much out of your Social Security check or whatever you think you're going to get from your federal government is not going to be there because they're doing, and they do this day after day. They do not work for us in most cases. Not only do they do that in the District of Criminals, as I called it, and that's what Washington, D.C. stands for, Washington District of Criminals, because that's what they are. They systematically hose us. And it does not stop at Washington, D.C. That's why I call them the scoundrels of Sacramento, because they're hosing us each and every day. The amount of stuff, AB 5, you can no longer become a contractor. And we're going to explore this. I said, California is the crash test dummy for the rest of the 49 states. Most of you probably heard about AB 5, where they're eliminating the independent contractors. Uber and Lyft and all these guys, independent truckers, riders, and everybody else are out. They're going to have to pay. They're not going to be able. They're either going to have to take less pay or totally eliminate or move out of the state, because California wants to make it more expensive for that. Guess where the legislation is introduced? Right in the halls of Congress, templated off of AB 5. They want to bring that nationally. And we're going to get in, because we're going to bring in our next guest. You've heard him many, many, many times on the show, because this whole philosophy filters right down, most likely, into your neighborhoods, whether it be Moreno Valley, Banning, Temecula, San Bernardino, Ontario, or one of our kingpins in the Inland Empire, our beloved River City, known as Riverside, California, one of our oldest and probably most powerful cities in the Inland Empire. And the guy that watches Riverside like a hawk and knows where the bodies are buried there. Jason Hunter, welcome back to the show.
Hey, always great to be on the show, Roy. So how many school facilities could you have bought with all that money?
Yes.
Impeachment trial, right?
Yeah.
But because the school facilities aren't being paid for that way, we've got to issue local school bonds, and of course we have Measure A coming up on the ballot soon.
That's very interesting, because as I do that, I'm reading as I click on, I was clicking on the Hill, looking at the Trump stuff, and in the videos and the ads, guess what was in there? Measure A. Vote yes on Measure A in Riverside Community College District.
And who has all the money to pay for all these ads and all these nice glossy mailers that have been going out to the public lately? Well, there's a committee formed. It's called the Friends of Norco College, Moreno Valley College, and Riverside City College. Yes on Measure A. And where did they get all the money? I can tell you they're going to draw, probably, if it's anything like our Measure O here, which was for the K-12 group, they're going to draw a lot of money, probably well over $100,000. I think Measure O got close to $250,000 to spread their propaganda throughout the community. And who will be behind that? Now, I'll tell you who, folks. It's going to be the people who are going to financially benefit from these school construction bonds if they're approved by the voters. It'll be construction companies, architectural companies, legal bond companies. It'll be teachers unions, carpenters unions. It'll be companies that do plumbing, that are subcontractors, that do carpeting. It'll be folks that are going to make a lot of money if we allow them to take $715 million out of the community to build these facilities. And so what is Measure A? Let's get back to talk about what is Measure A, and for the folks who are hearing about it for the first time, it's an attempt by the local community college district to get $750 million in bonds to build school facilities, which on its face is not a bad thing. And in community colleges do a lot of good things for our community. I'm a big supporter of them. Not everybody's going to go to the university, and we need to educate our blue-collar workforce and folks who want to get a cheap 2 years before they transfer to four-year universities as well, and there's big demand for that. And there's lots of growth within that in the Riverside Community College District system, which includes Riverside City College. Moreno Valley has a college out there, and so does Norco. So there's lots of things they could do, and I'm sure there's lots of good ways they could spend the money. But there are problems with this ballot measure, and everyone needs to know why they should be voting no on this ballot measure. And it revolves around a sort of a theme that we've seen in this community for a while now, which is, if anybody remembers Measure Z, which was the sales tax in Riverside, or anybody remembers Measure O, which was the K through 12 bonds that, they had their assessments on your property tax, these bonds. That's how they get paid off, is that they become bait and switches if you're not careful. And so I look at this Measure A, and it really is the granddaddy of them all, bait and switch. They will come out and tell you they're going to build all sorts of great things. Let me read from the literature I got today, Roy. It says, maintain classrooms and student service centers by replacing leaky roofs, rusted plumbing, and outdated electrical systems. Improve veteran centers to support military veterans and families. Upgrade classrooms and labs to help local students complete the first 2 years of college affordably and transfer to Cal State and UC systems. And it goes on and on and on. And those are great platitudes, but if you actually read the actual ballot language, how many of these things are actually guaranteed to happen with that $715 million? Any guess, Roy? The answer is zero.
The answer is zero, yes. If I turn my mic back on this, the answer is zero. I was getting, when you're reading that, that could be the Measure M bond that was passed in Moreno Valley, and about countless. Did they just cut and paste this stuff for each one of the? I mean, they're getting lazy on this stuff. I
can tell you how it happens, Roy. I'll tell you specifically how it happens, and people need to think about how unethical this process is. They use your money to go out and hire a polling firm to test the public to see what specific sentences and keywords that they will be affected by in order to convince them to take more money out of their pocket and give it to these school districts. It's a science. It's a polling company that does it, and then they just throw whatever they think will work in order to get that money. But if you actually read the ballot language itself, you'll realize none of that stuff is guaranteed to happen. It's basically, give us $715 million and trust us.
Yes.
We're not even going to bother putting in a specific project list as to what we're going to build, even though that is supposedly required under the California Constitution. So they're violating at least the spirit of the California Constitution. They're polling you with your own money to figure out how to trick you into reaching into your own wallet again. And they want you, think about how crazy this is, to trust them.
Yes, and let's examine that, because it's not just a poll; it's what we call a push poll. They will ask you a question: would you pay $400 million for a school bond? Well, 67% no. Then they go through a list of questions. Well, if it's going to stop, 3,000 kids died last year of that, and if we had this money, we would have prevented that. Now, would you vote for this bond? And it goes to 82% yes. Now, that's like an absurd exaggeration, but what they do is they keep asking you a series of questions till they figure out what it takes for you to support this bond. Then once they have that information, then they craft the deal. That's why I say it's like cut and paste, because it's like one or two polling firms that keeps doing the same thing across school districts, city councils, and as Jason Hunter said, they are not violating the law. They are playing really, really, really hard in the gray area by using our money to. If they are not advocating for a position when you're doing push polling, I don't know what is.
Well, I keep thinking of Measure. Let's talk about two of the measures in Riverside, Measure O and Measure A. Measure O, they told you, was the vital. Measure Z was the vital services and public safety sales tax. And the first thing they passed when they got that money was they retired some pension debt and they decided to move the library, the downtown library. Does that sound like public safety and vital services?
Yes.
Of course, it was a switch. Now they're talking about directing a huge chunk of money, I think upwards to $12 to $15 million a year, directly out of Measure Z into the general fund to pay for salaries and pensions. Okay, so it's the bait and switch is on in full play on that. On Measure O, which was a property tax to pay for school facilities K through 12, they said, we're going to fix up all the dilapidated old schools and get everybody out of the portable classrooms and get ADA compliance and all that. And what did they do as soon as they got the money? They decided to build 4 new schools in a period where we have declining enrollment within the school district, including what's going to be probably a $60 to $100 million STEM school for basically 800 students in a district of over 30,000 students. And so we keep getting bait and switched here. And I keep thinking of that. You remember the old cartoon where Lucy's holding the football, and Charlie
Yes.
comes up running and he says, "Oh, this time you're not gonna trick me, right?"
Yeah.
And he comes up, and of course he pulls the ball away, for the 1,000th time, and Charlie falls on his head, and that's really what they're counting on, is that the public is going to be Charlie Brown and fall on their head again, and never learn the lesson that there needs to be a negotiation between these government agencies and the public as to what kind of guarantees we want to see within the ballot language.
I keep thinking, how downright just disingenuous most of our public officials, most of the people that run the executive staffs, or the ones that come up with this stuff, public employee union heads that come up with this stuff, of that in cahoots with our businesses that keep funding this, as you pointed out. Yeah, it's going to be the architects, contractors, and bond underwriters that are financing this whole little Yes on A campaign. On top of that, as we explained with John Coppell, president of Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, we have a $22 billion with a B surplus in the state of California. On top of that, on Prop 13 on the March ballot, along with this, us folks out here in the greater Inland Empire area get to vote on this $750 million bond. We're going to vote for a statewide $15 billion bond on top of this, where we have a $22 billion surplus, which means we could pay cash and save twice of this, because that's going to cost you at least double, if not more, over the 30 years. We could pay cash for the $15 billion bond, probably do all these because they don't have shovel-ready projects. It takes 87 million years to do something in California anyway. They couldn't spend it all at once if they had it anyway. We could pay cash for this, still have $7 billion left to do whatever, and voila, we would be debt-free. But no, the dirty little secret is they put these debts on that we could pay cash for our facilities, then they got more money to party. That's why you have a $100 billion plus budget in the state of California through K through 12 education. And when you add in all these little doodads like Measure M in Moreno Valley is costing you $20,000 for every student K through 12. That means every class of 30, which is just about every one, is $600,000 it's costing you and me and everybody else for each classroom in every school in the state of California.
Well, do we have time to talk about what the system?
Yes, we got about 6 minutes left.
Well, and part of the propaganda pieces that recently set out, it says, well, you don't worry, voters, because you're protected. You're going to have a citizens bond oversight committee, and you're going to have independent audits. But of course, folks who don't understand how all these things work, I sit on two different oversight committees. I sit on the oversight committee of RCC, and I also sit on the oversight committee of RUSD, Riverside Unified School District, and of course Riverside Community College District. And I can tell you that there's a lot of problems with the independence of those and efficacy of those groups. Let me give you an example, and let your listeners think of whether this is independence or not. First of all, we are provided our rules by the district of how we can operate and how we can provide oversight. As part of those rules, it says the district, who we are charged by the state legislature, not by the district itself, but these committees are formed out of state legislation. We can be fired or basically removed from our position at any time for any reason by the district or the school board that we oversee. Does that sound like independence to you? We have to rely on the district's legal counsel for legal advice. We're not even allowed to seek our own independent legal counsel. Does that sound like independence to you, even though that's required if we ask for it under state law?
It is in the bizarro world we're living in.
The district or the school board gets to make the appointments to the committee. So you're overseeing, generally it's the superintendent or the chancellor. So the person who's being overseen is picking who does the oversight. Does that sound like effective oversight to you?
Of course.
So
not.
Go ahead. And so I keep thinking this is for folks out there who are trying to, wrap their minds around this. Think about, a lot of folks are parents. Think about if your kids wrote the rules as to how you provided oversight for them, or got to even fire you and got to put somebody else that they wanted to be their oversight whenever they, at their own whims. I don't know if people would think that would be independent or effective oversight. So there's problems with not just the process by which these bonds are being sort of passed. There's problems with how the money's being spent, and then there's problems with the oversight thereafter. I think there's more of an illusion of legitimacy to the whole process than there really is legitimacy.
Yeah, and it's another way. This is a prime example of push polling. When the process of this committee for bonds and school bonds came about off of a push poll when, I don't know what it was, I think in 2000, when they dropped the threshold used to be 2/3 majority to pass a school bond like Prop 13, and they wanted to lower it to 55 so they could get more of them passed. That was one of the things. They came up with this sham of a citizens oversight committee to make sure all the money was spent for schools and nothing nefarious went on. There's a guy on the inside telling you, and I've said this many times, and Jason, and I think, is backing it up, that committee has no teeth, or very little teeth, that can affect anything that's going on. So it was just another way to convince you, and they say it all the time, oh, we can't spend the money without the oversight committee and citizens and blah, 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 blah. It's total BS. They wanted to screw you. They have, and like Jason Hunter said, they've done it mainly with your own money.
Well, I even went so far as to go down to the school board meeting, K through 12, so the RUSD, not RCC, and where I think we have a lot of problems, cultural problems, and state from the open microphone that I thought, to the board directly, that I thought the whole oversight committee process, the whole committee itself, and everything about it was a complete sham. And I am a member of that committee. It's a sham. No one should have any confidence that that money's being spent properly or with any kind of real oversight. And quite frankly, once you don't have that, by law, you really shouldn't be spending any money at all, because you have to have an independent citizens bond oversight in order to spend the funds. It's part of the legislation. So once again, if somebody who's on the inside on one of the committees is willing to say that openly, I think folks need to take heed that maybe there needs to be reforms on this whole school bond process before we say yes to any more of them, quite frankly.
Yes, and thank you, Jason Hunter, for stamping, because it's well in the public record. I've stated this many times at many public meetings. Exactly, I said that committee's a sham. It's just made to convince you that this money is well spent and deserved and will be done correctly when it's really used to enrich a very few people. We got about a minute left. Wrap it up.
Well, let's get back to the whole premise of Measure A again, because this is a big one. It's going to be on the ballots on March 3rd, and the district is essentially asking you, and they've got things that they do need to build, and they can always come back in 8 months or in a year or 2 years and put it back on the ballot, but they need to have some protections for the voters and for the taxpayers. In particular, it needs to tell us, heaven forbid, what they're actually going to build. I mean, I say if my kid wanted $50,000 for something, the first thing I'd ask them is, what are you going to do with it? And for some reason, the district doesn't feel like they have to tell the voters what they're actually going to spend the money on. I find that to be incredible. And they say, well, we need flexibility. And I say, well, if you need flexibility, ask for less money and come back to us more often for bonds. So maybe instead of 750, maybe you need 300. Go build out for the next 10 years and come back again in 10 years instead of asking for the whole enchilada at once. This is a flawed measure, and I encourage all of your listeners, please don't be Charlie Brown with Lucy and vote no on Measure A.
I concur. Thanks a lot for the update. We'll have you on because, in less than 30 days, we're going to have a decision on this, and hopefully the state, not only everybody in the state of California, but in the Riverside, greater Riverside, Moreno Valley, Paris area, Norco, Corona will be woke on this one. Thanks a lot, Jason. We'll have you on again.
Take care, Roy.
You got it. Again, I just can't, I've said the same thing about the $400 million bond and every other one. They spent maybe $100 million of it, and they're really trying hard on that. I said the same thing. You don't need a $400 million bond. Do a $100 million bond, get that done, then we'll reevaluate where we're at. That makes, but that's the problem me and Jason Hunter have. We try to apply logic to the situation, and far too often our government has become illogical. Have video number 1 ready. This is Dave Palmer with a cute little parody of a Johnny Cash song on that. So roll video 1 here as we're getting ready to close out the show.
Well, I hear that train coming down the track. With trumpets and driving, we can take this country back from the crooked politicians who've been stealing us blind.
Yes, they have. Sing it, Dave.
With AG Barr guiding, it's time they answered for their crimes.
Yes, they should.
When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, to let no politician come and take your guns, 'cause it's all you've got to stop them if they're coming for your life. Your faith in God will save you and all your kinfolk and your wife. If they stop this train from rolling and they take our guns away, our Father God will judge them on his judgment day. But I know that with his blessing, we can stop these evil men and drive out all their demons and take our country back again. We need to drive out all their demons and take our country back again. Yeah.
There you go. That's a great parody of an old Johnny Cash song that he done. But yeah, we do. And he points out, like I said, the Second Amendment is not about hunting at all. He's exactly right. The Second Amendment was put in there to protect you from predators, from somebody to do you harm, and to protect you from a tyrannical government that is crushing your free will, your independence, just like in 1776 when King George was crushing the people of England and across the world because they were basically the superpower. And George Washington and his merry band of warriors said, you know what? We ain't taking this crap no more. We're going to have one hell of a tea party, and we're going to whip these guys' ass. And they sure did. And they touched off the greatest country in the history of human recording. Do you want to be the ones that are going to let that slip away? That's a choice we have in 2020. And we better take it seriously or else. Again, I don't want to be the ones where people are looking back and say, you're the generation that gave all this up, or you were the top of the downturn. That's why we bring this stuff out each and every day. I hope you pay attention to it. I hope it motivates you to get out there and change this, because if you don't, I hate to think of what's going to go with the last of this. We'll be back tomorrow on Fast Friday. Do it in. Hopefully, maybe we'll have an interview. We're working on trying to get an interview for the Drags out at the Winter Nationals. But anyway, we'll have fun. Maybe even Stephanie will show up. As we say, see you tomorrow, live at 5.